After I posted my How Interior Designers Make Money video, I received some viewer comments asking how exactly I price out my design fees. Is it just me, or is it so hard to find any concrete information about this anywhere on the internet? Because when I was trying to start my own business, I was searching high and low for someone to explain to me exactly how to determine my fees and price out my design services, especially in the commercial world, because I feel like there's so much residential info out there, but there's nothing specifically for us. So if you're also confused and stressed about figuring out what to charge, you've come to the right place. What's up, designers? My name is Kelsey. I'm an NCIDQ certified interior designer and the owner of KLSY, a Manhattan-based interior design studio specializing in commercial spaces. My mission is to help other designers excel in their career while promoting transparency about the industry and profession. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, follow KLSY on Instagram, and click the link down in the description box to sign up for my email newsletter and join the KLSY community. The first step in figuring out what to charge your clients for your design services is to determine your rate. Your rate is an hourly rate, or how much your time and services cost per hour. Like any industry, there are standard rates designers charge, but it all depends on your level of experience, your location, and also the demand for your services. To give an idea of what ballpark you should be in, here are some industry averages. The rate for a junior designer on average is between $75 and $125 an hour. A mid-level or associate designer is between $150 and $190 an hour. And a senior designer or design director is between $200 and $300 an hour. If you have certifications like LEED, WELL, or NCIDQ, you can certainly increase your rates slightly more, as well as if you have a specialty, like if you've been designing hospitals for the past 10 years, so you have a much more specific area of knowledge and experience. Your location plays a big role in your rate. For example, if you're a junior designer in New York City, it's acceptable for your rate to be at least $100 an hour due to the higher cost of living and general cost of doing business. And I want to be very clear before I move on that your rate of $100 an hour is not what you are going to be paid for as a junior designer working at a commercial design firm. That is not it. It is if you were freelancing on your own and charging clients for projects that you're working on independently, or it's what your boss or your company is selling you as. So let's say you work for an interior designer. Your interior designer would charge the client $100 an hour for your services, but you would probably only get paid, I don't know, $50 to $60 an hour because your boss or your company obviously needs to make profit. All of that money isn't directly going to you, which is why a lot of people want to run their own business, not work for someone else. I'm going off on a different tangent right now. Let's get back to what this video was about, which I need to think. Right. Okay. If you're working in a small town in Iowa, for example, you probably won't be able to get away with that rate because things are much cheaper there. So your rate would be closer to $75 an hour. I also mentioned the demand for your services. This is important to think about because of the fact that there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to determining the price of your time and your services. In business, whether that be services, products, whatever, price is determined by what the customer is willing to pay for. Kelly Wearstler's design style may not be the greatest thing to ever live or even your particular cup of tea, but there are thousands of people that are willing to pay maybe even quadruple the cost of design services just because of her name. They want to tell their friends, my home was designed by Kelly Wearstler. So because the demand for her name in particular is so high, she can basically charge whatever she wants. Okay, Kelsey, but what about me? I'm a young designer just starting out on my own. No one knows me. No one knows my name. I don't even have a big portfolio. If that's the case for you and you're in the process of starting your own business or freelancing and you don't have much of an independent reputation, the reality is that you should probably be charging at the lower end of your experience bracket. I'm about to go on a bit of a rant, so fair warning. Something that really bugs me is all of these influencers and coaches on the internet telling everyone that you have to charge more for what you're worth. Whatever your price is, double it. If your clients don't want to pay for what you cost, you don't need them. And while I think there is some truth in all of that, this is real life. And when you're just starting out, you have no reputation, no references to vouch for you. You can't just charge double the standard rate and expect that you'll land clients. Because your first couple of clients are essentially taking a big risk on you. They're hiring you without much proof that you're any good. They're renting the apartment sight unseen, and they're willing to do that with the caveat that you cost slightly less than the other guy. Now that you've determined your hourly rate, how do you use that to price out your services or a bigger project? There are a few different methods that designers use. Of course, the first way that you could charge a client is just hourly. You work on a project, you keep track of your time, you multiply the hours you worked by your hourly rate, the client pays you that amount. But I don't love working on an hourly system for reasons I explained in my How Designers Make Money video. I prefer to charge flat rates. The way that I find it easiest to price out a flat rate fee for a project is by estimating how many hours the service or project will take me and multiplying that by my hourly rate. If you're a seasoned designer, this should be relatively easy to look at a scope of work and determine roughly how much time it would take you to complete. But if that's something that you find difficult to do, look back at your project history. How long did the same task take you the last time you did it? If you've been keeping track of your hours, which you should be doing, this should be easy data to pull. If you're a super new designer starting out, this number might be a shot in the dark. I know it was for me when I first got started, and because of it, the first few projects I worked on were either way over or way underestimated. But as I went along and I had more and more projects and continued keeping track of my hours, I got a better sense of the speed at which I worked and which phases or tasks usually took me longer than others. Another thing that I like to do that both helps me estimate hours needed to complete the project and helps the client understand exactly what they're paying for is breaking it down by phase. If you send out a project proposal to a client that simply says, the flat rate is $20,000, they're going to say, holy shit, $20,000 is a lot of money. Did you pull that number out of your ass? And candidly, yes, sometimes I did pull that number out of my ass. Breaking this number up into phases helps them see exactly what their money is paying for. The concept phase is much simpler and takes much less time than the CD phase, where you need to spend days, maybe even weeks, putting together a comprehensive drawing set. It's also an easy way to both price out the services individually and add additional services at the bottom. I like to give my clients scope options too, so that if they have a tighter budget, they don't need to, for example, spend money on renderings. But I'll put that on the proposal as an added service, so they can always add it to the scope afterwards and they'll see exactly what that price would be. It also keeps you from doing additional work for no additional pay. If your proposal clearly outlines the hours of working you will not exceed in this phase for a particular scope of work, anything more than that will be an additional fee. You can also use this method backwards. If you either have a total fee number in your head or the client gives you a flat rate budget they can't exceed, then divide your hourly rate by that total number and see how many hours of work that gives you. Is that enough hours to complete the project? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. There are a few additional things to take into consideration when pricing your services. The first is your rate high enough so that it also covers the cost of doing business? After you've paid for your office rent, your AutoCAD, your Adobe subscription, is the money you have left enough to pay yourself a salary? As a business owner, there's a good amount of time spent performing admin work like doing your QuickBooks, sending invoices, editing your website. Those are hours that you're basically working for free. So just make sure that your rate isn't so low that you're actively working 30 to 40 hours a week on client work and still can't afford to eat. Of course, this is not to say that you should just raise your rates because you want to rent a new office or buy yourself a latte and lunch every day. It's not how we do this. It's not how things work. Wish it was sometimes. Lastly, factor travel into your fee. If the project isn't local and you either need to drive more than 30 minutes to get to the site, take the train, or even fly somewhere for the project or for the client. The flip side of this is that you can just send your client an invoice for travel expenses every 2 to 4 weeks for general reimbursement when you incur these travel costs. So when is it a good time to raise your rates? There are a few ways that you can determine if your prices are too low. Like I mentioned, if you're actively working 30 to 40 hours on client or project-specific work, yet you're still struggling to make a decent profit, it's time to raise your rates. If you have a higher demand for your services and are having to turn projects down, you've gained more experience and now work on the same tasks or projects at a much faster speed, you've upgraded your website and portfolio and can show that your level of quality and experience has increased, clients have stopped negotiating price with you, this is a very big telltale sign. If you send the client a proposal and they immediately say, great, and pay you immediately, yes, that is the sign of a really great client. You want to keep working with that person. But it also might be a sign that they took a look at it and said, wow, that is a great deal. I'm going to pay immediately before they change their mind. It's actually good if your clients negotiate with you, because not only does it tell you that you are adequately priced, it also can increase their perception that they're investing in an important professional opinion. They're investing in this asset, which is you, and it increases the value of your work. And lastly, if you haven't raised your rates in over a year, inflation is a thing. Sometimes you just need to raise your rates because time has passed. A quick note on imposter syndrome. I know I talked a bunch of shit earlier before about those influencers and coaches telling you to triple your rate immediately, but there is something to say about feeling like you don't deserve to charge people money. Whether it's because you don't feel like you're good enough or have enough experience, or because you feel uncomfortable asking for money. This is me giving you permission to charge people what it costs for you to perform the service that they need. If they could do it better than you or faster than you, they would. And they wouldn't be willing to pay any money for it. You are a professional with a specific and valuable set of skills, and you need to be paid accordingly. At the end of the day, you're watching this video because you want to run a business. So start acting like you're running a business and ask for money. And remind your clients that their payment is late and you won't be doing any additional work until all of their invoices have been paid. There are a lot of factors and variables that can determine your design fee, but I hope that this video gave you some actionable guidelines to help you navigate this crazy world of capitalism. Most importantly, trust your gut, don't lowball yourself, and remember that money is a concept and everything's made up and the points don't matter. If you're looking for more educational interior design content, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and check out some more of my interior design business videos here. And don't forget to sign up for my email list down in the description box to receive even more designer insights. I'll see you next time. Bye!